Welcome back to the channel. USA Coins 69, looks like it has been around for decades. Most people wouldn't give it a second thought, but coin collectors know better. Sometimes the smallest and most ordinary-looking coins can turn out to be treasures worth a life-changing amount of money. Today we're diving into the fascinating story of the United States 1-cent Lincoln Wheat Penny from the year 1940. This coin, minted more than 80 years ago, is more than just a piece of copper. It's a connection to history, a collector's dream, and in certain cases, a coin that can be worth an unbelievable amount of money. The Lincoln Wheat Penny was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the very first U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real historical figure, and it has remained one of the most iconic and beloved coins in American history. On the obverse, or front side, you'll see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, and on the reverse, the simple yet powerful, wheat ears design that collectors often call the wheat back. This design remained in place until 1958, when it was replaced with the Lincoln Memorial reverse. But for nearly 50 years, the wheat penny captured the spirit of the nation, and coins like the 1940 mint mark version are now treasured pieces of that long legacy. What makes the 1940 wheat penny so special is not just its age but also its story. At the time, the United States was recovering from the Great Depression and inching closer to entering World War II. Every penny struck during that era was part of the everyday lives of millions of Americans, used to buy bread, newspapers, and other small essentials. Today, these coins carry not just monetary value but also historical meaning. Holding one is like holding a small artifact from an America that was very different from the world we know now. Now, when we talk about the 1940 wheat penny, one of the first things to pay attention to is the mint mark. These pennies were struck at three different mints: Philadelphia, which produced coins without any mint mark; Denver, marked with a D; and San Francisco, marked with an S. Each of these mint marks can dramatically affect a coin's value, especially when you factor in condition and rarity. For instance, pennies from the Denver and San Francisco mints were often struck in smaller numbers compared to Philadelphia, which makes them harder to find and more desirable to collectors. The condition of the coin plays an even bigger role in determining its value. Collectors use a grading system to evaluate everything from wear and tear to the shine of the coin's surface. A heavily circulated 1940 penny, the kind you might find rattling around in a jar of old change, may only be worth a few cents or a couple of dollars. But the story changes completely if you come across a coin that is uncirculated, meaning it looks nearly as flawless as the day it was minted. These high-grade examples are rare because most pennies were used heavily in everyday transactions. Combine uncirculated condition with a rare mint mark or an error, and suddenly, you're looking at a coin with serious value. Errors are another factor that makes some 1940 wheat pennies incredibly valuable. A double die error, where parts of the design appear double due to a mistake in the minting process, can turn an ordinary penny into a collector's dream. Off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, or other unique variations can also make these coins worth far more than their face value. Collectors are constantly on the lookout for these small quirks, because what might seem like a simple flaw to the untrained eye is actually a sign of rarity and value. Another reason the 1940 wheat penny remains highly collectible is the nostalgia attached to it. Generations of Americans remember finding wheat pennies in their pocket change, and while they were once common, they have now become scarcer with each passing year. For younger collectors, discovering a 1940 penny feels like finding a time capsule from their grandparents' era. For seasoned collectors, it's a key piece of any Lincoln wheat collection, especially when found in pristine condition. So how do you know if the 1940 penny you find is worth anything? The first step is to look for the mint mark under the date and then carefully examine the coin for wear and possible errors. If the coin looks sharp and clean, with crisp details and little to no wear, you might have something special. Professional grading services can authenticate and grade your coin, giving it an official rating that collectors and dealers trust when determining value. Now here's where it gets exciting. While many 1940 wheat pennies are common and worth only a small amount, the rarest, most pristine examples with certain mint marks or error features can be incredibly valuable. Some of these coins, when found in gem uncirculated condition, have sold for as much as $60,000. Today, sitting in your grandparents' attic for years, untouched and forgotten. As you start sifting through the coins, one particular penny catches your attention. It's not shiny like a brand new cent, and it's not from recent years. Instead, you notice the date, 1939. And then you notice the wheat stalks on the back. Right then and there, you realize you're holding a piece of history, a Lincoln Wheat Penny from the late 1930s, a coin that could be far more valuable than you ever imagined. The 1939 Lincoln Wheat Penny is a treasure that stands out not just for its age, but for what it represents in the timeline of American coinage. Minted at the tail end of the Great Depression, this little coin circulated in the hands of hard-working Americans during a time when every single cent had real meaning. These were coins that bought loaves of bread, paid bus fares, or were carefully saved in jars during uncertain times. That history alone gives the 1939 penny a soul that modern coins simply don't carry, but beyond its story, collectors chase the 1939 wheat penny for its rarity and desirability. On the front, you'll see Abraham Lincoln's familiar portrait, a design first introduced in 1909 to honor his 100th birthday. Beneath him rests the date 1939, sometimes accompanied by a small mint mark under the year, showing whether it was struck in Philadelphia with no mint mark, in Denver with a D, or in San Francisco with an S. These mint marks can drastically affect how rare and valuable a penny becomes. For example, a San Francisco minted 1939 S penny in pristine condition is much harder to come by than a Philadelphia strike. On the reverse side of the coin, you'll find the classic wheat stalks curving gracefully along the edges, framing the words, 1 cent and United States of America. This simple yet iconic design gave the wheat penny its name and became a symbol of America's agricultural roots and hard-working spirit. What makes the 1939 wheat penny so interesting is that, while millions were minted, very few survive today in uncirculated or high-grade condition. Over decades of circulation, most of these pennies were used, worn down, and lost. To find one with sharp details, original luster, and little to no wear is truly like striking gold. Collectors and coin enthusiasts know this, which is why prices can climb higher than you might expect for a coin that, at face value, is worth just 1 cent. When it comes to coin collecting, condition is king. A heavily circulated 1939 penny may only be worth a small premium above face value, maybe a few cents to a couple of dollars. But in higher grades, especially coins that have been preserved untouched in coin rolls, sets, or safe storage, the value skyrockets. Collectors pay special attention to strike quality, sharpness of Lincoln's portrait, visibility of the wheat stalk details, and even the original red luster that copper coins had when they left the mint. If a 1939 wheat penny still has that bright, fiery red color and is free from scratches or damage, it can attract serious bidding wars at auctions. What's truly fascinating is how the 1939 penny, despite being more than 80 years old, still shows up in pocket change now and then. That means that if you're lucky enough and sharp-eyed, you might stumble across one without even realizing it. Imagine buying a cup of coffee and receiving change, only to discover you've been handed a coin from the late 1930s that might be worth far more than the coffee itself. That's the thrill of coin hunting, the excitement of finding hidden treasures in the most ordinary of places. Coin experts often advise collectors to check for errors and unique variations as well. Misstruck coins, double dies, off-center strikes, or even small die cracks can make a 1939 penny incredibly valuable. These minting mistakes are often rare, and collectors prize them as one-of-a-kind oddities. So, if you have a 1939 wheat penny, it's worth examining closely under a magnifying glass or even having it graded by a professional service to unlock its true potential. The beauty of the 1939 wheat penny lies in its dual role as both a historical artifact and a potential financial surprise. It connects you to the past, to the struggles and resilience of the American people during a difficult era, while at the same time offering the possibility of substantial monetary reward today. This is why collectors keep their eyes peeled for this coin. It's small in size but huge in value and meaning, and here's the part you've been waiting for. While many 1939 wheat pennies are worth just a few dollars depending on condition, the rarest and best preserved examples, those dazzling high-grade coins with perfect luster, have sold at auctions for as much as $66,000 in words. today could be worth far more than anyone who first spent it could have ever imagined. We're talking about the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln Wheat Penny from the year 1950 with its mint mark. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary penny, the kind we often ignore or let roll under the couch, but for collectors and treasure hunters, this coin is a hidden gem waiting to be discovered. The story of the 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny is rooted in American history. By 1950, the United States was entering a new post-war era. The Great Depression and World War II were behind the nation, and prosperity was beginning to shine again. Every coin minted during this time carried with it the hopes of a booming economy, the stories of hardworking families, and the simple day-to-day transactions that built the America we know today. Among these coins was the humble 1-cent wheat penny, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln. His profile on the obverse and the symbolic wheat stalks on the reverse reminded Americans of unity, progress, and growth. But why would a coin minted in the millions in 1950 be so special now? That is where rarity, condition, and mint marks enter the picture. The mint mark on a coin is like a secret code that tells you where it was made: Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. Some mint marks produced fewer coins, making them scarcer today. Combine that with the fact that very few pennies survive in pristine condition after being handled for over 70 years, and you have the recipe for something truly valuable. Collectors across the globe search tirelessly for well-preserved examples of the 1950 wheat penny, because the difference between a well-worn coin and one in near-mint condition can mean thousands of dollars. The details are everything. Imagine spotting a 1950 penny with sharp, crisp lines in Lincoln's hair, no scratches or discoloration, and a mint mark placed just right. That little coin can leap in value instantly. Errors also play a huge role in desirability. Sometimes during minting, mistakes happen, like a doubled die, off-center strikes, or even missing elements. These imperfections, instead of lowering value, actually increase it dramatically for collectors because they make the coin unique. If you happen to find a 1950 wheat penny with such an error, you're no longer looking at just a piece of change, you're holding a potential treasure. Picture this: millions of people handle pennies every day without giving them a second thought. They jingle in purses, fall between car seats, and sometimes even end up discarded. But tucked away among these forgotten cents could be the rare 1950 wheat penny that collectors are willing to pay an incredible price for. Think about the thrill of spotting one in your own pocket change. It transforms the act of simply checking your coins into a treasure hunt, where every penny could turn out to be a jackpot. This is why coin collecting has fascinated people for generations. It isn't just about the money, it's about connecting with history. Each coin tells a story, and the 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny is no different. It carries the face of Lincoln, a reminder of resilience and leadership, and wheat stalks symbolizing hard work and prosperity. Holding this coin makes you wonder, whose hands did it pass through over the decades? Was it part of a child's first allowance, a soldier's change after buying a meal, or perhaps spent at a 1950s diner for a slice of pie? These little connections to the past make collecting all the more meaningful. Now, let's get to the part that excites collectors the most: the value. While most 1950 wheat pennies are worth only a few cents in worn condition, the rarest, most flawless examples with mint marks and near-perfect preservation can command a staggering price. Imagine this: one of these coins, in exceptional condition, has been valued at $70,000. Yes, you heard that right, $70,000 for a penny that might still be sitting unnoticed in someone's drawer, jar, or pocket. Today, we'll journey into the story of the 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that many people think of as just another old copper cent, but for collectors and historians, it represents far more than its face value. You might be surprised to know that in the right condition, with the right mint mark, this humble penny can turn into a true prize worth an astonishing amount. So stay tuned, because this is not a coin you'll want to overlook. Let's start with the basics. The 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny is part of the beloved Wheat Cent series, which ran from 1909 to 1958. These pennies are called wheat cents because of the reverse design featuring two stylized wheat stalks, framing the denomination and the phrase, 1 cent. This simple yet classic design, created by Victor David Brenner, became one of the most recognized in American coinage. For nearly 50 years, this design circulated in the hands of Americans, witnessing history through the Great Depression, World War II, and the post-war boom. By the time the 1957 penny was minted, the wheat cent was nearing the end of its journey, soon to be replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959. Now, what makes the 1957 penny special? First, its composition is worth noting. Like earlier wheat pennies, it was struck in bronze, made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This gives the coin its distinctive reddish-brown tone, which has become a key point of interest for collectors. Over time, depending on how the coin was stored, some 1957 pennies have retained their brilliant red luster, while others have toned into darker browns. Collectors often value the red examples much more highly because they represent how the coin looked fresh from the mint. Speaking of the mint, the 1957 penny was struck at two different locations, Philadelphia and Denver. If your coin does not have a mint mark beneath the date, that means it was struck in Philadelphia. If you see a little D mark under the year, then it was minted in Denver. While both versions are collectible, certain rare varieties, die errors, and condition grades can send the value soaring well beyond what you might expect from an ordinary penny. One of the exciting aspects of the 1957 wheat penny is the number of die errors and striking varieties that occurred. For example, collectors search for double die obverse coins, where the date or lettering on the front of the coin appears double due to a misalignment in the minting process. Even minor doubling on "In God We Trust" or the date can drastically increase the desirability of the coin. Another variety to look for includes repunched mint marks, particularly on the 1957 D pennies. This happens when the mint mark was punched into the die more than once, creating a shadow-like effect. These errors may seem small, but collectors prize them because they capture a rare moment in minting history. The condition of the coin plays a huge role in its value. Coins are graded on a scale from good to mint state or even proof quality. While a circulated 1957 penny may only be worth a few cents above face value, an uncirculated example with a blazing red luster can fetch a significant premium. Imagine pulling out a penny that looks as fresh and crisp as the day it was struck over 6 decades ago. It's like holding a tiny piece of history in near-perfect condition. But beyond condition and errors, what truly makes the 1957 wheat penny stand out is its place in the final years of the wheat cent series. Collectors who want to complete their wheat penny sets cannot skip over this year, making it a key addition to almost any collection. The demand remains high, and when supply meets rarity and condition, prices can reach levels that surprise even seasoned collectors. Think about it this way: pennies are the most common coins in circulation, often overlooked or tossed aside as pocket change. Yet, among them, there exist treasures that can transform from 1 cent into thousands of dollars. The 1957 wheat penny is one such coin, a reminder that not all pennies are created equal. Some carry stories, history, and hidden value that only reveal themselves to those who know what to look for. Today, we're going to explore the fascinating story of the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln Wheat Penny from the year 1953, a coin that might look ordinary to most people but is actually a treasure in the eyes of collectors. This coin, especially when it carries a special mint mark, has a history, rarity, and desirability that makes it one of the most interesting pieces of American coinage from the mid-20th century. So stay with me as we dive deep into why the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny is a coin you should definitely know about, and how one of these coins could be worth a small fortune. The Lincoln Wheat Penny has always been a favorite among collectors because it represents both history and artistry. Introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it became the very first American coin to feature a president's portrait. The obverse of the penny shows the detailed bust of Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, while the reverse features 2 wheat stalks encircling the words, 1 cent and United States of America. These wheat stalks gave the coin its popular nickname, the Wheat Penny. By 1953, this design had already been in circulation for over 40 years, but every year's minting still held the potential for rare variations, unique mint marks, and errors that today can transform an ordinary-looking coin into a prized collector's item. When we talk about the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny, one of the first things to consider is the mint mark. Coins from this year were struck at 3 different locations: Philadelphia, which carried no mint mark, Denver, marked with a small d, and San Francisco, marked with an S. While millions of these coins were produced, condition and rarity play a huge role in their value today. Most 1953 pennies that you find in circulation will be heavily worn and worth only a few cents. However, those in pristine, uncirculated condition or carrying special mint errors can be valued much higher, sometimes in the hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The fascination comes from those rare specimens where collectors are willing to pay astonishing prices to secure the perfect example for their collection. The year 1953 was part of the post-World War II era in America, a time when coins were minted in large numbers because of a booming economy and rapid circulation. This means that finding coins from this year is not particularly difficult. But the real challenge is finding coins that have survived in flawless condition after decades of handling. Imagine a coin struck in 1953, tucked away in a drawer, a bankroll, or a collection, untouched by circulation. Such coins retain their original luster and sharp details, and this is exactly what excites collectors. For them, owning a piece of history in such preserved form is like stepping back in time. Now let's talk about the variations and errors that can make a 1953 wheat penny even more special. Some coins from this year were struck off-center, while others display doubling in the lettering or numbers. These are known as double die errors. Others may have slight imperfections in the minting process, such as repunched mint marks, where the letter D or S appears stamped more than once. These subtle details may seem small, but in the world of numismatics, they can make the difference between a penny worth a few cents and a penny worth thousands. Collectors love these unique quirks because they make the coin one of a kind, and rarity always drives demand. What truly captivates people about the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny is the idea that something so small and overlooked can be incredibly valuable. Think about it. How many times have you walked past pennies on the ground or ignored them in your wallet? Yet within this small denomination lies the possibility of great worth, hidden in plain sight. This is what makes coin collecting such a thrilling adventure. You never know when an ordinary coin could turn out to be extraordinary. The 1953 wheat penny also carries historical charm. It reflects a time when America was experiencing cultural change, technological progress, and economic growth. Coins minted during this period weren't just money, they were tiny artifacts of American life. Every time you look at a wheat penny, you're holding a piece of history that passed through the hands of ordinary Americans decades ago. That connection to the past is part of what makes collecting so meaningful for enthusiasts. So, how much can a 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny be worth? While most examples in circulation are worth only a small amount, the rarest and most pristine versions can sell for staggering sums. Auction houses and collectors are constantly on the lookout for these coins, and the prices they're willing to pay can truly surprise you. Imagine someone finding a simple 1-cent coin and discovering it is valued not in pennies, not in dollars, but in the tens of thousands. That is the magic of coin collecting. It transforms everyday objects into treasures. Now here's the part you've been waiting for, the jaw-dropping value attached to the rarest of these coins. A 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny with the right mint mark, preserved in immaculate condition, and possessing the unique qualities collectors dream of, has been sold for an incredible amount. That value isn't just a few $1,000s, it reaches into life-changing figures. Yes, one of these rare 1953 mint mark Lincoln Wheat Pennies has been valued at $88,000. So next time you come across a wheat penny from the 1950s, don't dismiss it. Take a closer look. You might just be holding a fortune in your hands without even realizing it. That's the beauty of coins like the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny. They remind us that history, rarity, and value can come together in the smallest, most unexpected places.